Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show, the very popular show we do every week with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. And today is Thursday afternoon. We're doing the show for college football Week 8. Brent, thanks so much for being back with us once again.
Glad to be on, Peter.
All right, let's start the show before we get to the games. Just there was a post in the thread on the forum last week, kind of a standard question, and we've addressed it before, but let's address it again. It's bound to come up many times in the future. We did our call. You said that it involved the TCU total, right? We did our call. You said that you got sharp action on the over at 66.5, 67, whatever it was. Okay, great, fine. Then by the time the show gets produced and comes out and posted in the forum, all of a sudden the total's down. It's down to 64, and so people are wondering what gives. Now, when I see that, I just assume that you took sharp action on the under after our call. Is that what happened?
Well, it wasn't sharp action, but it was just big money. I mean, there's several reasons why a number's going to move, and especially I think this total moved mostly on the day of the game. I kind of can't remember exactly what the situation was. I mean, normally most common is going to be because of money. It could just be big bets going the other way. It doesn't necessarily have to be sharp money. I mean, every book has different philosophies. Some places just want to be balanced no matter what the cost. They'll move it. They'll move a total 5 points. They don't care as long as they get balanced. What they want to do is create so much action and just hope they don't get middled. Other places will kind of stick more to a number, saying, look, I know the sharps are this way. I'm going to go with the board. I'm just not going to go so far. Weather can be a factor. Injuries can be a factor. All that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're not out here predicting who's going to win game. We're kind of talking about line moves and who's bet what. Now, it's interesting with that TCU Baylor game because the line did drop. I mean, they did have sharp action over 66 and 67. Line was down to 64. Now it's close to 66.5. So, who was sharp? Well, I'm saying anyone who bet over 64 was definitely sharp, but we also had sharp money over 66. Now, they scored 119 points, so that's kind of that's not the point. But it's a case where you want to be on the right side, you want to be on the side with the sharps, and you want to have the best number. Well, I mean, sometimes the line is going to move against you, but you can. It's tough when you're sitting there watching the line move, saying, "Hey, why did it move?" It could just be money, and that was just, the case now. It was just like, take a couple 5-9 bets. You simply have to move your line off the number, especially depending on what your chart is at. So there's a lot of factors, but usually it's just money. Doesn't have to be sharp, though.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, when I saw that move, I just assumed it was sharp action just because, what kind of, public action would be pounding the under in something like that? But I guess I was wrong. So the initial move up was sharp action. The move back down was not sharp action. Then why then was the move back down a bigger move than the move up if the move back down was spurred by money that you wouldn't consider sharp?
If you're sitting at 66 and you get, say, a 5-dime bet and your chart's kind of balanced and now you're off 5 dimes, you may move it at a half point, see if a sharp comes and bet you the back again. If you take another bet 5 dimes, well, you're moving another half, so all of a sudden you're gone from 66 to 65 now. And if it's just like that. I mean, you take a couple of bets and boom. And again, if they're day of the game, we have higher limits. So your sharp actions may be capped at 3 dimes, depending on what the day of the week, and the day before it might be 5 dimes. Day of the game, it might be 10. So even though you're just taking one bet, it's double the size. So it's almost like a 2-unit bet. It's interesting, like on this game too, this TCU game, I had sharp guys betting the first half over as well. So the sharps were clear in their view of this game going over, and of course they were right in this case.
So then when that happens, when the sharps come in, bet it over 66.5, whatever it was, and then they come back to BetDSI and they see, oh my God, now it's 64. Do they come in and hit it again?
Usually they do, yeah. And what you'll also see is that the move back up is usually really quick. Usually you'll take you take a full unit bet from a guy who's just got deep pockets. You move a half point. You take another one. Maybe you move a half point. As soon as that sharp comes back in with the same unit bet, you're probably moving a full point back to the over.
But if you tell us that there's a sharp play and then we come back and we see something like this in the future, it could also be that there was sharp action on the other side, bigger sharp action that drove the line movement, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say it's tough to say when you're sitting back there. But I mean, the stuff that comes in on the day of the game, obviously there's a lot more action. But most of the time when we talk about the numbers that have been bet by the sharp guys here, you're not going to get those numbers again, and you're usually not going to get a better number.
All right. Well, Brent from BetDSI for the 500th time. Thanks so much for all that great insight. And now let's get to some of the individual games that I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to ask you about the Notre Dame FSU game, but you suggested we not talk about it just because you took the game off the board. You said you didn't have much to say about it. Some places do have that game on the board, though. Why are they still hanging the number?
Well, I see, like on Best Screen, I see places that look like, well, actually, I'm looking at Don Best right now. I don't have anyone on. There's a couple books who were kind of slow to take it off, but no one on at least my Don Bet screen right now has that game up. I think it's just the Winston stuff again and again, and Bo Jackson's trying to save him, of course. But I will mention though that I did take sharp money on Notre Dame when the line was up. They took the Notre Dame plus 13.5. So while the line was up, I did get a few bets, and it was all on Notre Dame, nothing on Florida State while it lasted.
Well, that makes sense to me. Let's start with Kansas State, Oklahoma. You know, I saw that line at the opener of 10. I thought to myself, that seems like might be a good bet, similar to the TCU line that I saw last week. And just like with the TCU game, I previewed the game with the professional handicapper. He said he liked Kansas State. I agreed with him. And similar to the just like with the TCU game, now the line has gone down. Standard move from 10 to 7. Was that caused by sharp action on Kansas State?
Well, when you thought that was a good bet, did you take the rubber band off your bankroll, Peter?
Well, we don't really have needs for rubber bands in my bankroll yet. It all fits into one wallet very easily. But I was definitely excited about the bet for sure.
Yeah, no, we definitely took sharp action on Kansas State right away. The actually first bet came in on Kansas State plus the 10.5. I also had sharp money on plus the 8.5. Now we're all the way down to 7. Game total on that one is 55. So Oklahoma at home -7. Kansas State was definitely the sharp side. My count and my money is about 2-1 in favor of Kansas State as well. So I've got not a whole lot of public action the other way on Oklahoma, which you might figure, but no, definitely sharp action, definitely one way on Kansas State. Again, the numbers pretty much washed out the plus 8.5, and obviously 10.5 was like stealing, but Kansas State definitely a sharp side. My total, I've got nothing but under money. We're sitting at 55 right now. Money started coming in under 57 and stuff like that. So I guess they're expecting a lower scoring game than we had pegged, but I've got like about my chart's just nasty in terms of the under. We need the over big time. But sharp money, Kansas State.
All right, and then so we just mentioned the TCU games. TCU has been the team that we've talked most about in these shows the past few weeks. This week, interesting game against Oklahoma State and some very interesting line movement. As we know, TCU has been a sharp side the past 2 weeks. You told us about that. You told us that you took sharp action on TCU to win the national championship, to win the Big 12. Now, they're off those 2 tough games where they were a sharp side and they covered. Now they're at home against Oklahoma State, and kind of strange line movement. They opened at -8.5, right? Big favorite line. Then I saw a very quick jump up to 9.5, which surprised me a little bit. Then, the line at bet down to 7, which is sort of what I would have expected. Now it's all the way back up to 10 again, so I'm wondering what is driving that movement. Is TCU a sharp side again, this time as a big favorite?
No, Oklahoma State's the sharp side, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, this one. It has moved quite a bit. This week, though, I definitely have sharp money on Oklahoma State, plus 10.5 is where most of it came. TCU, my money's, favoring Oklahoma State. My count's favoring Oklahoma State. I've taken some big bets the other way in terms of TCU, but not anything that I would call particularly sharp.
All right, so then what drove the line from 7 all the way back up to -10 then?
Just bets. I mean, we just got big. Like I said, you take bets. You got to move. That's just what we do. And like I said, everyone has their own kind of philosophy in terms of how strong of a position you're going to take. But you don't know how many more are coming. You don't know if another sharp is going to start laying the minus on TCU as well. You just don't know how it's going to come out. So we just adjust and keep on adjusting. Like I said, right now our charts, slightly favoring Oklahoma State. But if they laid the numbers with 9.5 and stuff like that with TCU in terms of the betting volume, you're going to move. If the sharps pretty much came in on Oklahoma State plus 10 and 9.5, you can bang back and forth between 10 and 9.5, and if you take balanced action, you're fine.
All right, and then I want to talk to you about Stanford, Arizona State, right? This is a classic situation that we see all the time. We have 2 ranked teams playing each other. The higher ranked team is at home, off a bye even, yet they're a home dog, a pretty substantial home dog, and so the question is, which way is the trap? Are the books trying to trap the public by taking Stanford as a favorite?
This is trap talk. Who talks like that?
You want to know who talks like that? Steve from collegefootballwinning.com. This is, guys, my sharpest guest who does college football handicapping, and I scoff at him. I say, Steve, there's no traps. The bookies don't set traps. There's no traps. There's no traps. He says, actually, we believe that quantitatively there are traps and blah, 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 blah. He said that he thought that Ball State was a trap game 2 weeks ago. He was right about that. And this guy, he's meticulous about college football handicapping. he calls certain games traps that are intentionally set.
If we think we know who's going to win the game, that's just who knows this stuff. This is football. I mean, football doesn't, if it hits the ground, it doesn't bounce true or anything like that. It is what it is. The games, the games play out. I will say on the Stanford game, I mean, part of the stuff with this game is Kelly. I mean, the quarterback for Arizona State, right. Looks like he was questionable at first, then he's upgraded to probable, stuff like that. So it looks like he's gonna go. I've got sharp action actually both sides of this game. I got Stanford money -3. I got other guys taking Arizona State +4 when it was like -120. My count's pretty much dead even. My money favors Arizona State, almost like 2-1, but my count's pretty much flat on this one. Total. It's really weird. This game, the total, I mean, I think it's the only game on the board where I haven't got a bet on the total yet.
Right.
Really, really strange. But I mean, that total could be relative to Kelly for Arizona State. But right now, no, we're sitting Stanford 3.5. Total's 53.5. Sharp money on both sides. So it looks like, right now I would say we're probably going to be sitting where the number is and won't have to move off it. But then again, we'll see, closer to game time how it moves out.
All right, and then the fourth marquee match I want to ask you about is Georgia-Arkansas. Georgia is a small road favorite, and they were in that situation last week. They got a huge blowout win, easy cover. Then again, though, Arkansas, probably the public was very impressed with their easy cover and almost win, close loss to Alabama. So which way would the public be going on this one? I'm not exactly sure. I guess I would have to assume that they'd be betting Georgia.
Yeah, my count's probably about 2-1 in favor of Georgia, which is really no surprise. I mean, Arkansas, maybe not an attractive team like people are going to say, wow, rushing out to get some of that. So we're sitting at Georgia -3.5 right now. Our total is 55. My money also favors Georgia. I mean, if you look at just the straight bets, I'm probably even in terms of the wager count. But when you put in parlays and stuff like that, that's when it turns out to be like 2-3-1 in favor of Georgia. My money favors Georgia on that big chart as well. So mostly public money. I haven't got a ton of sharp stuff on this game at all. The under is way one side on this one as well. I've got under money. They started coming in under 58. Now they're down to 56.5 going under. Sitting at 55 right now in this game. Not a single bet on the over, Peter.
And that under money was sharp, or was that just a big public action?
Just big bets all one way.
Okay, nothing sharp on the under then. All right, well, that's all I wanted to ask you in terms of the big matchups to make sure that we touched on. What can you tell us now for the rest of the card? College football, Week 8 notable action.
Well, I can tell you that Purdue's a sharp side. Purdue is at Minnesota, and it's interesting because we're still sitting at 14, and I had sharp action come in at 14.5. I thought the line would drop down a little bit more, but my count and money are very close on this game. I took a little bit money back, again, deeper pockets, what you might want to call it. Minnesota -12.5 and -13. That's why we're sitting at 14. So the money's not too bad, but the sharp action is definitely on Purdue, 14.5. Down to Iowa, Maryland. We usually talk about Maryland every week. This time it's the total. The under 51.5 was definitely sharp action. We're sitting at 48.5 right now. Got a little bit money starting coming back on the over at 48.5. Nothing particularly sharp though. My count's pretty much even on that, but the money's about 3-1 on the under. So Iowa, Maryland under 51.5, definitely sharp.
All right, so Maryland has been a sharp side several weeks in a row, and the line did move in their favor, but that wasn't driven by sharp action this week.
Well, actually, I got money on both sides of this one. That would be sharp. That's why I didn't mention this, and It's all about the number. It's weird. I mean, I got money on Iowa +6 and 5.5, even +4.5, but the sharp stuff on Maryland came when it was lower, like 3.5. Right. So it's just I got sharp money both ways.
Okay. What else do you have for us, Brent?
UMass. UMass is at home to Eastern Michigan. Sharp money came on UMass -11.5, -12.5, even -13. We're sitting at 15 right now. My count is actually not too bad in terms of this game. Slightly favors UMass. My money's pretty much even, which is real nice. I just got some bigger bets on Eastern Michigan that started coming in. The line went all the way up to like 15 and 16. I think it was 16.5 when they came back on Eastern Michigan. So that seems to be that's kind of the way it goes. You just kind of play it out. You move the number up and up and up until you get something back. We got something back on Eastern Michigan. So if it doesn't land in the middle will be okay. But the sharp action definitely on UMass -13 would say, I would say that was the number. Down at 343, which is New Mexico. New Mexico is at Air Force. They're catching 10.5 right now. Sharp money came on New Mexico +12.5. I got a couple of guys on that one, so that's looking like a sharp side for sure. Over to Nevada and BYU. The total is the sharp action there. I got it count about 4-1. My money's almost like 5-1. Sitting at 56.5. The sharp money came over 54. That's Nevada at BYU. The over definitely sharp. 368 is Ohio State. They're at home to Rutgers, favored by 21.5 right now. 19.5 and 20.5 were sharp bets on Ohio State. I got a couple of guys on that one, so definitely sharp action there. Kansas State, Oklahoma. Kansas State, we talked about them being plus 8.5 and plus 10.5, plus 10. That was all sharp, definitely. Down to Oklahoma State. We touched on that one already. Kentucky is another one. Kentucky is at LSU. Right now I got LSU minus 10. Kentucky plus 10.5, and even like 10 minus 05. Had a couple sharps on that one as well. A little bit of money came back and kind of bigger bets on LSU as soon as we hit 9.5. Again, deep pocket bets, not particularly sharp stuff. So Kentucky plus 10 minus 05, plus 10.5. That was definitely sharp. And the over in that same game as well. We're sitting at 53 right now. Over 51.5 in the LSU game was sharp.
Okay, Brent from BetDSI, Headlines Manager, thanks so much as always, and we'll talk to you tomorrow for NFL Week 7.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.